Hello, and welcome to the Dynamic Man Experience, a podcast dedicated to men who want to become the 10.0 version of themselves through mastering the three key relationships of mindset, money, and the many people in their lives, creating long-lasting, deep connections and trusted bonds for real appreciation and understanding.
By, having the courage, having the confidence to approach women in real life and stuff like that. And even just being social. There's a lot of sometimes when you're free and stuff like that, it's like people are like, who do you think you are? And I've just been like I've always been pretty direct, but I've been more direct, in telling women how I feel about them.
Welcome. Today we're going to be talking to Trey Morgan, founder at the Masculine Throne, a man who is intent on fulfilling his purpose in this world and helping men to ascend to their rightful power in a good, healthy way, with confidence, with no fear, and encouraging guys to take risks, take chances, and be brave in a world where we need strong, powerful men. More strong, powerful men. So let's get on it. Trey Morgan, founder of the Masculine Throne. Welcome, Your Highness. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, my brother. I feel blessed, feel grateful to be here.
Excellent. How's your summer going?
Going
What's the
great.
exciting thing? What's the most exciting thing you're doing this summer?
Most exciting thing is honestly just continuously moving towards my purpose, becoming more grounded in my masculinity, learning to express myself more authentically, connecting with women in a more natural way, or just being unapologetically masculine and allowing them to be unapologetically feminine. And then also leading men to show them that we don't have to be ashamed of who we are. We don't have to pretend to be something we're not. We don't have to follow the crowd. If you're different, what's different about you? If you're unique, be unique. Like that's what makes you special. And it feels good to own who you are. It feels really good. It brings a sense of peace. Also just strengthening my relationship with God. That's huge too. Of course, that allows me to own who I am more because I know that that's what he wants me to do. That's why he put me on this planet. That's why he put us on this planet. He put us all on this planet as unique individuals, and we're supposed to give our gift to the world. So that's what I'm excited about, man, is just doing what I was put on this planet to do.
Yeah, you're God's job. How does I know? Like, cause working with men, we like to use more action oriented language rather than the emotional type of
Hmm.
language. Like
Hmm.
what you just explained there. How does that look
Yeah,
when you're
practical like
looking?
that.
Yeah, when you're being your most masculine self and you're putting that energy out,
Hmm.
in masculine terms, how does that look? Because I know guys are a bit averse to the woo-woo kind of emotional type of stuff.
Hmm.
We shy away from it because we get a bit self-conscious, I think, really.
Yeah, so what it looks like practically is it looks like more order and more discipline in your life, right? So it starts with when you wake up, what's your morning routine? How do you start your day? I start my day with meditation and prayer. 10 minutes I just sit in silence
Yeah.
and I watch my thoughts and I feel my emotions and, I just see what's going on internally and then I choose how I want to show up for the day. What type of man do I want to be for the day? I want to be a courageous man. I want to be bold today. I want to strive for my potential. I have a specific goal I'm going after. What are the steps I can take to move towards that goal? And I have my day already scheduled out, so that's important too. It's like the night before. Don't just wake up and just kind of go with the flow. Like you said, that's not masculine. Just floating around. What are the steps you need to take in order to achieve your goal? So my day's scheduled out. It's like how we had this presentation, collaborating here. This was scheduled out, right? So, and when I have things scheduled out, I treat it like a doctor's appointment, like I'm showing up, make sure I'm ready, early. And I just do that with everything, after I meditate in the morning, I work out every day. I do calisthenics, body weight stuff. So I'm able to do that every day. I stretch. And then I have like certain things I'd like to fill my mind with, so certain books I read, certain videos I watch, certain podcasts I, listen to, certain music I like to listen to. So it's really being specific about what you want and then setting up your day so that you're moving towards that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with a purpose. It's like
Hmm.
there's a meaning to the day rather than just getting through it, getting through to Friday, your pay packet, and then looking forward to a weekend where you're going to just blow off steam or whatever you do, so that you definitely have a Monday morning hangover, whether you drink or not. But it's like so many people are out there doing work that they don't even like,
Hmm.
handcuffed to the lifestyle it gives them.
Hmm.
And it's so stressful. Maybe it's not like peak stress, but it's so consistently stressful right through your whole week. You don't feel like you're doing what you should be doing, really, is it? We all like to find a bit of meaning in
Hmm.
in our days. It's a tough time to be a man, yeah,
100%.
for a lot of guys. But is it really, or is it the best time ever to be a man?
I teach guys like how to go and approach women and stuff like that, right? So what I've noticed, like you said, it's like it's a tough time, but is it really? Women, they have more access to men now because of social media and stuff like that. The competition is in that sense, there's more competition for a man to attract a woman because she's all these guys trying to get at her and she has access to all these guys. And so if you look at it like that, then oh man, how am I going to compete? But what I notice is if you have the balls, if you have the courage to approach women like during the day,
Yeah,
not online, try to get in their DMs, not the dating apps, not the none of that. Like you see a woman anywhere, it could be at the grocery store, it could be at the mall, it could be anywhere, and you just approach her and tell her, hey, I think you look amazing and I wanted to come and meet you. I think you look attractive. I think you look beautiful. Whatever, but you're just expressing whatever's coming up. Maybe it's I think you look sexy,
yeah,
and she's gonna feel that differently than the guy messaging her on Instagram or on the apps, or whatever that is.
yeah,
So yeah, you can actually, if you decide that you want to be a man and actually approach women in real life, that you can actually stand out a lot now because
yeah,
most guys are not doing it. Many guys are afraid to do it actually, afraid of rejection. Oh, people gonna see me. What if it doesn't work out? Da 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 da. I'd rather just message on dating apps. So a lot of guys are lazy in that sense. So you can stand out by having the courage, having the confidence to approach women in real life and stuff like that, and even just being social. Like if you it
exactly.
doesn't even have to just be about women, just being a social person with like, most people are in on their phones, headphones,
Yeah,
all of this,
yeah,
whatever. So
yeah.
just by being social, you stand out like, whoa, this is different, you know?
Absolutely. You can really you can really capture attention just by being so relaxed. You're not anticipating rejection because you're not putting yourself out there. You're just being friendly. You're just being social. You can actually be more of yourself, more of your witty self. You can bring your humor to the
Mhm.
experience, and maybe it's only like 5 seconds, but like you've made an impact. You've made
Mhm.
someone smile.
Mhm.
And like who feels the benefit of that? Yourself.
Mhm. It's mutual.
It's mutual. You've given a bit of meaning. You've made a difference, and like that's as easy as it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, as
Yeah,
simple.
it's just about just doing it. You don't want to be in your head. That's the prison. It's like when you get in your head, you start overthinking. Oh, what should I say? What did I? No, just go and say hi.
That's it.
You know.
That's it. I mean, like you said it earlier when you meditate. You just observe your thoughts.
Hmm.
But we trap our thoughts. We hoard our thoughts in our head instead of traveling with them to let them take us wherever they go. Because
Hmm.
like you just gotta let them go, man.
Hmm.
They're not supposed to be on a carousel inside your head.
No, no.
It's like it's
Life
like
is
trapping
out.
clouds. Yeah.
Yeah, life is out here. It's not in here.
No.
We can analyze like there's a time and place for everything. When I'm out with guys, I
Yeah.
tell them like the time to analyze and plan and stuff like that's at home. Okay, how many women are gonna approach or how long am I gonna stay out or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
kind of logic to it. But once we're out, it's time to be free. It's time to let all that go and just because I'll have a guy approach a woman and then he'll like start super I'm like, yo, now's not the time for that. Go and approach the next woman now,
Yeah. Yeah.
or just think about how the fact that you approached her. Don't go into because they're quick to go into negative. Oh, I didn't get her number, or oh, she didn't like me, or this and that. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. we'll deal with that later. Like now we're just living, we're enjoying life. This is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be this serious thing. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't get her number, so I'm not good enough, and let me go home and cry. No, 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 no. Like some people are going to reciprocate your energy, right? Because they're on the same frequency, and some people are on a different vibe. You know, some people got other things going on, so don't expect everyone to be super happy at your approach. But you just feel good that you're approaching, that you're being a man, you're being assertive, you're taking action, you're living your life, and you're not stuck in your head doubting yourself.
Yeah, but I think you're actually disarming the voice in your head, and you're disarming another human being out there just by being yourself. You're spot on, man. It's like so hard for guys to just be themselves when the world is crying out for guys to just be themselves.
There's a lot of suppression. You know, I even see it myself. This is how I know it's there because I'm actively doing this every day and I can still see where I'm like somewhat doubtful or somewhat hesitating or not fully free. And I'm like, wow, and I'm meditating and I'm doing all these things, you know, because there's a lot of sometimes when you're free and stuff like that, it's like people are like, who do you think you are? You know, like you're supposed to be miserable like me. And you know, it is I see that. So that can be if you're not sharp and you don't know what's going on, that can be just discouraging. You know, well, you know what the issue that's you know why I brought up God earlier because if you don't have a relationship with God, you're gonna be seeking validation from other people, and if you don't get it, that's gonna bring you down. So that's actually something that I try to help guys with. You don't have to be religious or anything, but if we don't, if it doesn't, if you're not someone who wants to really talk about God, it could just be learning to love yourself. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a strong relationship with yourself because if you don't love yourself or you don't have a relationship with God, like I said, you're gonna be seeking it from other people, and if you don't get it, now you're at their mercy.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a big issue there. You know, and I'm seeing that the more I connect to God and the more I love myself, the more I'm able to be free because now I'm not worried if I don't get a certain reaction from people. You see what I'm saying? I'm just gonna express.
Yeah, it's hard to love yourself. It really is. We were just talking about it earlier. Like, why is it so hard to even like ourselves? What is it? What is it that stops us just from being our full selves out there, not caring what people think? Just being like free, right? Free, frisky, flirty. Just a good human being, having fun, playful. Why do we find that kind of inner child kind of joy? Like, why do we find that so hard to express when we get older?
I, I think it's what do you think? Because I think it's the social programming and what I was saying about needing validation from people. I believe we've been programmed to we're supposed to make people like us. Like,
Yeah,
oh, you're supposed to make people like you. You're supposed to fit in. You're not supposed to disrupt, the flow of things. Like you're supposed to just keep things,
conform.
yeah, and that's programmed into us heavily. So if you hold on to that program, then you're just gonna be chained. That's why we have to love ourselves because you have to love yourself more than more than other people love you. Or you have to love yourself in so much that you don't need love from others. It's like, yeah, I would like others to love me. Yeah, I would like things to go well. I'd like the girl to be interested in me as well. But if she doesn't, I still love myself no matter what. I know God loves that. I have a relationship with
Yeah,
God. I know God loves me. So I'm good, and I know that some people are for me and some people are not. That's another thing we need to remember. Like some people are going to like you and some people will not. There's nothing you can do about that. So don't try to make everyone like you. That's the problem. We're trying to make everyone like us and can't do it.
we're trying to catch every fish, and I think it was like Matthew McConaughey. He said, like, one of the biggest insults is like, "Oh, that guy, he's so full of himself." Like, who else are you going to be full of?
Wow. I like that.
So I mean, like,
Yeah.
how is that an insult? Why? Yeah, you're so full of yourself, man. What's wrong with you?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing some work on myself, and I've been thinking about things and reflecting, and I've been shit at a lot of things, and now I've kind of figured out that I can actually do better just by thinking about it and maybe showing a small bit of awareness. I don't have to
Mhm.
show total awareness, but if I'm just a small bit aware, I can make my life a whole lot simpler, a whole lot better. And it's like I already know what to do, but I just don't do it. And I slip back into these patterns and these, you know, letting people push my buttons. Why do I leave people push my buttons? Why do you just get rid of the buttons, man? Triggerings, all these things that like we don't even think about because we as men think that we are so simple. We don't think about anything else except women, beer, sport, and maybe small bit of work. But like that is it's not the full extent of our thoughts, man. We hoard all this shit that's going on in our head. 90% of what we were thinking about yesterday, we're thinking about today. And the more we think about it, the more we believe it. Half the shit doesn't even happen. We're believing half the stuff that didn't even happen. Just creating, thank God for AI, because we have been so shit at prompt engineering until now, man, in our own heads. And now we have a chance to, okay, to use AI, we need to be better at prompt engineering. But, to use our own heads, we have to be so much better at prompt engineering our minds, man. How do
Yeah,
you
it's
see?
huge. It's huge. And that's part of the process of setting up your day. When you're setting up your day a certain way, what you're doing is you're programming, you're creating your own reality. You're programming yourself, your subconscious, because what's going on internally is what's going to be reflected externally. So it's
Right.
like if you want to change your reality, you have to change what's going on internally. And so I'm very sharp when it comes to that because I can see it very, very clearly. Just
Yeah.
just through my life, being somebody who's heavily into self improvement and stuff like that, and coaching other guys, it's like I'm seeing it all comes down to what's going on in your subconscious mind and your the emotions that you've conditioned in your body. Not only do I do that meditation in the morning, I do other meditations. Like I do meditations for manifestation. Like I'll get in the state of who I need to be in order to manifest something. Like for example, if I want to manifest a certain type of woman, I don't just look at, well, I want this woman. What type of man do I have to show up as consistently in order to attract that woman? And so I tap into that. Or if I want to make a certain amount of money and I'm not making that, well, what type of man do I need to show up as in order to create that type of money? There's a certain amount of value I'm going to
Yeah.
have to bring to other people. And so I have to tap into that. And it's not going to happen. I have to consciously build that character, right?
Yeah.
And it's a certain way of thinking, it's a certain way of feeling, and it's certain actions I have to take. And I have to, and that's the biggest thing about being a man. It's like you have to be disciplined because we're programmed to kind of, what I notice is like the body, if you just listen, the body just wants to survive. So if you just kind of go with the flow, like you'll survive, but that's about it. If you want to
Yeah.
thrive, you're going to have to consciously do certain things to elevate yourself. So it's not, I don't necessarily want to wake up 5:30 in the morning and meditate and then work out and then I don't necessarily want to do that. Doesn't necessarily feel good. But I know if I want to achieve certain things, if I want to be a certain type of man, I have to do it. And so it's like falling in love with the discipline of it.
Yeah.
It may not feel good, like it doesn't feel comfortable, but you feel like
Yeah.
a man, you feel like a beast. You feel like, okay, I'm going after something, I'm doing something here. And you have to fall in love with that feeling. That's like that masculine, that masculine polarity, and building that testosterone. So that's what it
Sexy.
means to really,
Yeah.
huh?
Sexy beast. The sexy beast.
Yes, the sexy beast. It's like owning that, and having no apology about it. Like there's when I approach women, I'm not timid about it. Like I'll express my sexuality. I'll tell her, "Oh, I think you're sexy." Sometimes I even like go into like, "Oh, I love how your body's shaped." I'll go into stuff like that, whatever. And some girls will try to shame me for it. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like that's a problem too. That's something I talk about and help my clients with as well. Is like sexual shame. But your sexuality is a natural thing. It's as natural as eating. It's as natural as sleeping.
Yeah.
But the social program, the culture tells you, oh, you're supposed to be gentleman and nice and don't ruffle anyone's feathers
Uh,
and man.
I would say the opposite, man. You got to ruffle feathers, but in a good
Hmm.
way. You know. I
Hmm.
mean, that's the
Yeah.
whole thing. That's what gets you attention.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be obnoxious or insulting or
No.
offensive. It could be very
No.
clever.
Hmm.
And what better way to show your intelligence than with humor, man?
Exactly. It's great. Yeah, humor. And just be and just um having an way to articulate yourself. So sometimes I may approach a woman and say, "Hey, I think you're sexy," and sometimes they'll be like, "I don't really like that word. You know, it's kind of disrespectful." I'm like, "Wait, hold on. How is that disrespectful for me to express myself to you honestly and genuinely how I feel? Wouldn't it be disrespectful if I lied to you? You know, if I said something else, not but that's not really what I mean? Wouldn't you want me to be upfront with you and tell you how I feel, and then allow you to respond how you want to respond?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, you're right." You know, that is, I do appreciate that. So you know, you have to be able to not get offended or, you know, antagonistic. Is just explain yourself, explain your truth, and maybe they won't accept it. But if they don't accept it, then we just part ways. You know, hey, have a nice day. I'm sorry. Have a nice day.
I think you hit on a very overlooked skill, the reframe. You know,
Mhm,
if we are approaching anyone in any situation with like a certain direction, whatever, having the confidence and the ability to understand that, yeah, whatever way this goes, I know I can frame it in another way that'll show it in a better light.
mhm,
You know, so like
yeah,
the reframe is such an understated skill, especially today, because you just never know who's going to take offense with a like an innocent word like sexy. You know,
mhm,
it's the reframe is such an important skill. You know, and that's
mhm,
something I use in my work, is like
yes,
explaining to guys that, you know, there's always a different way of looking at it. You know,
yes,
it doesn't
yes,
have to be an offensive. It doesn't have to be some way that it's going to be received in a bad way or whatever. You know, you can pull this out. You know, and show that like your intention was good because you're a
mhm,
man, man. It's like, you know, you don't have to scuttle off with your tail between your legs. Every woman is the same kind of a mentality. Like, I'm never going to approach another woman again.
no,
You
no,
know, we have
no,
to.
because
We have,
I've had some really good reactions too. You know,
absolutely.
some very good reactions. I was just talking to someone today. I was telling them because, you know, I like to experiment with different things, different ways of communicating. And, you know, I've just been like more, I've always been pretty direct, but I've been more direct, you know, in telling women how I feel about them. And a lot of times they get like really turned on when you're just like so forthright and so comfortable in your sexuality and expressing it. It allows them to reciprocate that, and they want to. Like we all want to be able to express ourselves freely. It's just we have to make it okay, you know. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
I think it's, especially right now, it's like such a standout to be direct and honest. You know, like how many people are actually just being true to themselves, man. Honest. Just say what's in your mind, say what's coming up, and just like don't even beat around the bush, and be comfortable and confident, and like even like making yourself laugh at yourself. You know, that's such a skill.
Mhm,
So I like it is something that I think women are very, very intuitive about, is picking up like when guys are not being insincere.
mhm.
Sincerity stands out, man, because it is a sea of insincerity out there right now.
Yeah, there's a when you're being honest and genuine like that, like it takes balls, so it's not easy. You know, I feel like I'm making it sound like, oh yeah, it's so simple, just be. It takes balls, it takes courage because
Absolutely.
you're being vulnerable. You know, you're expressing how you really feel, so that you're removing the mask, the facade, and you're like, yo, this is how I feel. So you can actually you can be rejected, and so that's the thing. You have to be okay with being rejected. You know, like that's a huge thing that, you know, a lot of guys that come to me, it's like that's one of the biggest issues, the fear of rejection. How can I not get rejected?
Yeah.
But you have to learn to accept it. The same way how you have left, you have right, you have yes, you have no. You know, you have up, you have down. You have black, you have white. So you we have to just accept life, you know. And it's, you know, somebody said, I like what somebody said. They said rejection is God's protection. So it's like someone rejects you, it's just they're just not the right person for you. Because the right person for you is going to be like, yeah, I love what you're saying. I love how you're communicating. I love how you're expressing yourself. You should be looking for those people. You know, like
Absolutely.
if somebody rejects you, you're like, okay, that person's not for me. You shouldn't be like, maybe I should have said something different, or I should have approached differently, or I should have. No, that person wasn't for you. Like,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. So that's like a huge thing I tell guys is like, you should actually be happy when you get rejected because I would rather get rejected than to have to act fake with someone and then I get them to like me, but then I have to keep acting fake to keep them around. You know, like that's what guys do to get women. They like pretend to be something they're not. And then once they get the girl, now it's like a miserable relationship because they have to keep being something that they're not to keep the girl. I don't want that type of
Exactly.
relationship. I don't want that type of relationship.
No, it's very easy to get sucked into that, because like you say, it's not easy to be open and honest. Being open and honest is like accepting that the biggest rejection is going to come your way. So we almost have to train ourselves to accept massive rejection, because like if we get a massive rejection, what kind of approach do we go in with, man? That is a massive confidence booster if we look at it, reframe it in the right way.
I
Figure the
like so yeah, I like to see rejection as like a stepping stone to success. You know, like some people look at like failure over here and success over here. I see it as failures here and success is here. So in order to get to success, you have to go through failure. So if I'm avoiding rejection, I'm also avoiding success. That's how I look at it. So that's my reframe. And that's true if you look at anything, like in basketball, right? I used to play basketball. You have to take if you want to make a lot of shots, you have to take a lot of shots. And the best basketball players like Michael Jordan, he shot 50%. That means he missed 50% of his shots.
yeah.
You know, you look at some of the best baseball players, the most home runs, they also have the most strikeouts. Some of the best boxers that knocked out a lot of people, they
Yeah.
also missed a lot of punches. You know, so it's in every area you look, that's part of it. The people who are most successful, they have accepted the fact that they're not always going to hit the
Yeah.
mark. But they know that if you're afraid to hit the mark, you're probably not going to hit it or you're not going to hit it very often. You
Yeah.
know, so that's one of the reframes I look at. I just see like that's it's literally just a part of life, and not just
You're going to hit
not
the
taking
rim.
it so
You're going to hit the rim.
yeah, yeah. And so and even like those examples I gave, it's like you wanna just have fun. Like when you're playing basketball or boxing or whatever, like yeah, like you want to win, but there's also like a playfulness of it. Like let me just
Yeah.
get in there. Let me just take the shot. Let me just approach the girl. You know, that's a much better attitude than all right, here we go. You know, like that it's a different attitude. It's like you said, it's like more of like a childlike you want to have more of like a childlike spirit when you're approaching life. You know, there's an intelligence and a wisdom of an adult there, but then you also want to have that freedom of the child that's just playing with life.
This is it. And it really comes down to, it really comes down to play, not taking ourselves, because we are so good at believing that we're so bad. If we could just take that mental discipline and put it to good use, even a fraction of that skill that we're bringing forward with us all through our life, and just put 10% or 15% of that towards like believing we're good, how much difference would that make in a month, in 12 months, in every guy's life?
Mm,
How much
huge
difference would that
difference.
make?
Mhm. Huge difference.
This is the thing with guys I'm finding, Trey, is that even when I get them into the coaching program, they don't finish. It's not like I'm going to, chain them down and work with them until they're fixed. It's like not even halfway through, they're kind of like, I'm good. There's a resistance. There's a resistance to guys doing the work. Do you find the same?
Yes, yeah, I have some guys who follow through, some guys who don't. I try to let like I talk about being a beast and
Yeah.
being disciplined and so I try to get that across. Like, look, it's not easy, stepping into your potential. It's not easy being a grounded masculine man. It's not easy achieving high levels of success in different areas of your life. It's not easy, mastering your mind and none of this stuff is easy, and that's why most people are not doing it. So if you're gonna do it, like step up and like let's go. That's what I'm saying. You gotta have a certain attitude about it. You don't want it to be daunting. It's more like yeah, like let's do this. This is gonna be fun. And you're not gonna be. I tell guys like, um, I can do 100 push-ups, right?
Yeah.
But when I started, I could probably do 10 or 20 or
Right.
anything you're doing. It's like just start where you are, but know that over time you're gonna build
Build
it
the
up.
reps.
So you just have to have the right attitude. And sometimes it's some guys need a deeper work than others because like trauma is a huge thing.
Yeah.
You start talking to guys and you find out that they had some big trauma that's happened in the past, and that's really the issue. And so they have to be willing to dive into that because some guys are not willing to dive into it, because it's painful. brings up certain emotions that you may not want to face. But a man faces his demons. He
This is it.
faces his fear. Yeah.
I was talking to someone this morning, and I mentioned that guys aren't suffering from toxic masculinity; they're suffering from toxic femininity. Because I find, like, some of the ads I'm running on Facebook, for instance, like the guys are the biggest bitches out there, man. They leave sarky comments, and I had to reprimand one guy there a couple of weeks back because his name was Murphy as well. I was like, man, you're in my tribe. What are you doing? Like, do you want to be excommunicated? Because I will talk to the elders and get you out, man. Pull your shit together. It's
Mhm,
just I find, yeah, stop being a bitch, man.
mhm,
Stop being bitches and come out and do the work.
mhm,
Face yourself. You're very, very, very brave there behind the keyboard. Um, why don't you stick a mirror on that monitor and see when you're actually sending those messages and you're looking at yourself? How does it feel? How does it feel when you look at yourself, man, and you are hiding, not just from yourself, from the world, and not pulling your weight? What are you doing? We're being challenged by women in what is probably the greatest time ever to be a woman, and we're failing miserably. Women have like challenged, lay down the gauntlet to us, and we're like, what do we do? Life is so tough. I can't deal with it. I'm just gonna stay single, sit on the couch, control the remote myself, and just watch whatever comes on. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I love cold approach so much, like going out and approaching women, because it's not just about getting the women. When you approach a woman, she's going to, like you said, they're gonna challenge you. They're gonna poke at your insecurities. They're gonna poke at your
Yeah.
egotistical insecurities. They're gonna poke at, your limiting beliefs. They're gonna poke at those areas where you're ambiguous and not grounded. And so it forces you to step up and take a look at what's going on internally, because it's not just about the woman. It's like, yo, what's going on with me? Because wherever you go, you're bringing you with you. You can't run away from what's going on internally. So even if you try to go and get a woman, like, she's going to bring these things up in you. So it's like there is no way, you can't get away from it. If you try to um not face it, things don't they it gets worse.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it just you can fall into a depression, or you have to, um
Compounds.
and that's why women are not, willing to submit to men as much anymore, and are taking the lead and stuff like this, because men are not doing the work that they need to do, the inner work.
Exactly. Exactly. We're being left behind, and we're accepting, you know, being left behind. We're not rising to the challenge, man. We're not rising to the challenge. We're just carrying on as usual, as normal, not thinking that, um, if there's so few guys doing the actual inner work, um, how much effort does it take to stand out? Not a lot. Not a lot. Most guys are crawling along on their hands and knees, man. All you have to do is stick your head up and you're above 90% of guys. That's nuts, man. Nuts.
And that's the thing. Like we mentioned, it really goes back to the whole self-love, or
Yeah.
having a relationship with God, because when you do go out there and put yourself out there, like, you're gonna get tested. That's the thing. That's why guys don't do it. Like, they'll say, like, everybody wants to be alpha until it's time to be alpha, or everybody wants to be the big dog until it's time to be the big dog. Because when you're alpha, when you're a big dog, when you're putting yourself, you're gonna get tested. So you have to be okay. You have to be willing to,
Open.
yeah, you have to be open. You have to be willing to, like, I don't know if go to war is the word, but it's like, here I
Go,
am. Let's,
go to peace. I think go to
huh?
peace. Go to peace. You have to be willing to go to peace.
Go to peace. Okay. Okay.
So, like, you have to be willing to take the challenge or let's just say, intuitive criticism from a woman in any given situation. And, like, this is something I could maybe, if I apply this the next time I talk to someone, maybe even this woman again, I can make a difference. Like, how am I communicating? I just learned something, but we look at that as an insult to our manhood or masculinity, which is already at a low point. Like, why are we so willing to accept any challenge as an insult?
I think it's the attachment to the ego, man. It's the attachment to the ego and thinking that we're right, you know? Like sometimes we could be wrong. That's the power of having a coach. You know, you find somebody who you admire, somebody who's went through something similar to you and has achieved it, and have them help you or guide you. Or if you can't find a coach, maybe find somebody around you or maybe a
Push
men's
me.
group or something
Yeah,
because you do, yeah, it's tough to go at it alone. Like I tried, like a lot of I spent a lot of time like working on myself alone, but there's only so much you can see. You're gonna have we have blind spots, you know, and that's
yeah,
just the reality of it. That there's things that are below our conscious awareness that we're just not able to see. And so you need someone who's further along the journey to show you certain things,
yeah.
you know, or someone who has a different perspective. And so yeah, we have to be open to receive that constructive criticism. You know, sometimes the woman is emasculating you. So you got to know the difference. Like sometimes the woman is emasculating you, but sometimes she's giving you like the information you need to become the type of man that can attract her or can get the next woman, you know? So self-reflection is big. You know, when I go out and approach women and do certain things, I come back, you know, I don't like to do it while I'm out there. I do it when I come back. What did I do well today? I give myself props first. That's the thing. We need to do that. It's very important. Don't go
Yeah.
right into the negatives right away. I messed this
Exactly.
up. I meant like, what did you do well? You did some things. What? Just going out. Sometimes I may go out and I don't. It doesn't happen as much now. But when I started, like I would go out, I wouldn't talk to anyone. But I would tell myself, man, I went out though. You know, give myself props. I went out. I didn't stay in. You know. So
Yeah,
just that.
and like going out on your own is
Hmm.
such a challenge. Like so much satisfaction inbuilt in it just by just doing it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a very powerful action that we can take, get us out of our own misery. Like you know, especially in the summertime, and just go for a meal on your own, do something on your own, man. It's like
Hmm.
treat yourself. And you know what? Like when you do that, you actually meet people. People gravitate towards you. You're more open to a conversation. You know,
Hmm.
waitress, waiters, everyone, they're all much more amenable to the single person. Like, have a chat, make sure you're all right. It's kind of like, you know, there's a built-in caring in people when they see you on your own,
Hmm.
which is very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It shows a certain strength of character just to be out there and just like be okay, not needing to have, you know, a bunch of people around you. And no, I can be by myself and just kind of just enjoy life, just enjoy being alive. Like you said, have a meal by myself and maybe just focus on enjoying this meal. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Sometimes we're not even really enjoying the meal. You know, like we're thinking about something else, or maybe we're watching around or whatever. Like, just really be present with the meal and taste the meal and just, be learning to be very grounded in our own energy. I think that's very attractive. Like, before you can really take a woman on an amazing date, can you take yourself on an amazing date? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Charm yourself, man.
Hmm.
Fall in love with yourself. You know, I mean, treat
Hmm.
yourself right. You gotta treat yourself, man. Every now and then, you
Hmm.
gotta treat yourself. And
Hmm.
when I mean now and then, I mean like every week, man. Gotta give
Yeah.
yourself a treat.
Hmm. Hmm. You don't want to. One of the things I learned is you don't want to be dependent on others to live your life. Like when I used to go out and approach women and stuff, I used to have a wingman, and I remember it got to a point, where like if he wasn't going out, I didn't want to go out, because I became dependent on him, and then I learned like you don't want to do that. You don't want to be dependent on anything. You should be able to go in any environment, but it requires like that. You have to actually do it. You have to go and get those references. You have to tell yourself, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go get something to eat by myself today, or I'm gonna go to movies by myself today, or and that builds character. And then when you bring someone along, you can lead them better because you know how to lead yourself. So now you know how to lead yourself. You don't have to worry about yourself. You can just lead them into pleasure, lead them into a good time.
Yeah, yeah. We neglect our own power, man, so much.
Mhm.
We fall into a bit of a trap where we think, turns out we're the victims now, us poor men. No, look, it's all in our mind. So much of this is in our mind. We restrict ourselves. We hold ourselves
Mhm.
back. We judge ourselves very harshly,
Mhm.
and we take breakups so badly, betrayal. Like,
Mhm.
the worst form of, I suppose, negative emotion, maybe is a betrayal. We feel betrayed. But like, who betrayed who here, because if we're not paying attention to like how we are consciously in a relationship, we betrayed relationship ourselves. So we betrayed ourselves. We're like, I read something today by Steve Chandler, really successful coach, but he was talking about this guy who was married for a second time. He had a really bad first marriage, but his second marriage was fantastic. He asked this guy, like, how come his second marriage was so much better than his first? And he showed him, say, a to-do list that he had or task list that he had for every day. And at the bottom of the list was a code for his wife's name. And he was like, why is your wife's name in code? Because if she saw the list, he didn't want her to see her name as a task. So he put it in code. He put it in code and he had like every day he would put that name in code on his list and just take 2 minutes to do something or just specifically for her. So like it was basically 2 minutes out of every day that he would do something for his wife, and that transformed their whole relationship. But he was consciously, like what you're doing with your schedule, it was part of his conscious schedule every day that he did something special for his woman. He was very super conscious about it. So like we have to, I think for guys, we shy away from keeping our conscious awareness at a really intuitive level, We don't we don't take notice of what's going on. We kind of tune out, and the lack of awareness just causes so much shit in our lives, man. It makes life really hard for us. So like just show us. I talked to a guy a couple of weeks ago, like in his 70s, and he was still making the same mistakes, triggers and buttons and patterns. I'm like, why didn't you just not do that? And then your wife wouldn't have reacted in that way.
Mhm.
Like, he was like, I never thought of it like that. Exactly. That's my point. We don't think, so we get ourselves
Yeah,
into
yeah,
trouble.
self-reflection is huge, man. Like even at the end, at the end of the day, I like to do that thing that I said, like the what I did well, and what can I improve? Like that's huge because even if you improve one little thing each day, that makes a huge difference. And I
Yeah,
like that example you gave with the guy who put his wife's name in code. To me, that's what a man is. It's like he's not leaving things up to chance. He's not
yeah,
going with the flow. He's like, yo, if I want to have a great relationship, I have to be intentional and conscious about what I'm doing to make this relationship great. If I want to have a successful business, I have to be conscious and intentional about what business
yeah,
activities I'm taking on a consistent basis and what's working, what's not working, what can be improved. If I want to have a certain dating life or a certain whatever it is, so that's what I realized, when I got into cold approach. It was like I realized I had to take responsibility, because I don't know if you know my story about being a 24-year-old virgin, all that. Like I knew that no one was coming to rescue me. Like no one, like I have to do something about this. So I was like, okay, let me start going out and talking to women, man. Let me handle this shyness. Let me handle this emasculated nice guy character identity that I've developed, and let me do something about it. Because I'm not a tree. I can move. I can
yeah,
change. I can do. Like I'm not stuck. And some people think they're stuck. They think they're in a box. You're not in a box. Like you can change your life. You can make a full 180. You know,
yeah,
and it starts with setting the intention, right? Like as simple as like the guy, he just put his wife's name there. So
yeah,
whatever it is for you, I want to improve my relationship, or I want to get a relationship, or I want to build discipline. It could be something simple. You just start with that and build on that, and it gets more specific over time, and you get more clarity. You don't have to be perfect right away. You just take the first step. That
yeah.
first step, and
Yeah, it's all about, I suppose it's all about, we have balls. We've got to use them. We got to show them, man,
yeah,
you know?
no, that's huge. That's huge. Like that's what a man is,
Yeah,
and we have to learn to embrace that feeling of being courageous. Accepting that tension. Like we're not supposed to be comfortable all the time. Like I learned something recently. I didn't know this. Maybe you already knew this, but apparently taking risk builds testosterone. So as a man, we should be taking risk. Like I didn't know that. I didn't know a bit. Like I knew it was good to take risks, like for
Yeah,
business and get
yeah.
women, whatever. But I didn't know it actually builds testosterone like that.
Take a
That's
chance,
something
man.
that yeah, yeah. Like that's we should be doing that. Like I knew working out help with that and eating certain foods. But we should be taking risk. Like that's what a man is. Like back in the caveman days and stuff, we didn't have no problem with that. We had to take those risk was everywhere,
I
but now it's so much comfort.
I always use the snowboarding as an example, like maybe last season I was going up a chairlift and I happened to look up, back up the mountain and at a very scary part of the mountain. And because I had looked up and I had seen it, I was like, okay, you know where you're going next, man. You're going right up there because you just looked. So you got to
Yeah,
scare the shit out of yourself and just do it. And look, it is challenging. And of course, our stomach sinks and our heart races. But like not doing that, not accepting that challenge, man, you're just going home to a mouse hole, you know.
yeah,
But like if you do it and you scare the shit out of yourself, man, you're top of the world. There's nothing that can knock you off that perch.
yeah,
And that's where we need to get guys again, man. I love the idea of your masculine throne. You know, the what is it? What is the saying? Easy lies the crown on the king because he has to make all the decisions for all his people. So like you're approaching it like from a very, very powerful angle, Trey. I love it, man.
grounded masculinity, owning our balls, owning what it means to be a man, like those qualities of being assertive, being courageous, being a leader, being disciplined. We need to own those qualities. We need to embody those qualities. What I realize is the more you embody those qualities, because I relate it to women, it's like what's attractive about the man is his masculine qualities. So if
Exactly.
you're having problems attracting women, just look at are you being a man? Like forget about techniques and all this other stuff. Like are you being assertive? Are you
Yeah.
being courageous? Are you being disciplined? Are you being bold? Are you taking risk? Are you leading?
Yeah.
Are you doing these things? Because if you're doing these things, I bet you would be getting some interest from women, right? And then you wouldn't have to worry about like all these techniques and all this stuff to manipulate them. That's the thing. I'm not one of those, you have some guys who teach like these things
Yeah.
to manipulate the women into liking you. I'm not interested in that at all. I just want that those natural the natural attraction of a man to a woman, you
Well,
know?
like you say, you just described it. We have all the attributes to attract anything we want if we accept that, like, our awareness is the single most important characteristics we need to work on. Our consciousness, because we have the power. We just like we're just leaking it, man. We're leaking the power. The battery's draining. You know, Trey, in Ireland, we have this thing. The most important word is the last word. We fight over the last word, man. Whoever gets the last word wins. So you have to be really good, to get the last word in. I'm going to give you the last word right now, man. What are you going to leave us with today?
Man, take some risk, take some risk. That business you're afraid to start, that woman you're afraid to approach, that thing you're supposed to be doing, you're not doing, like take that risk. It feels good. And it doesn't mean you have to overwhelm yourself, because I wasn't one of those guys that was good at like just going all the way right away. Sometimes I had to build up to it, and that's okay. Like I always tell my story about how I got good at approaching women is I started by talking to old ladies,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's a form of taking a risk. Because if you're not talking to anyone, talking to an old lady, that's better than nothing, So yeah, just start where you are, take a risk, move towards that goal, and you'll feel good about yourself. You'll feel a lot better about it than if you just didn't do anything. So just ask yourself, what can I do? Don't worry about what you can't do. Worry about what you can do.
Excellent. Excellent. So where can people find you, Trey?
Yeah, they could find me on Instagram, Throned Trey.
Okay.
Could find me on Facebook, Trey Morgan.
Okay.
And I have a podcast. on Spotify called The Masculine Throne. So
Beautiful.
those are the main ways you could find me.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks for coming on, Trey. You've been, I love talking to you, man. You've got great energy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, my brother.
Good luck, Trey. I'll talk to you soon, man.
God bless. Peace.
Call it what you want. But as guys, there's an exciting challenge to being a man these days. And it doesn't take that much to really stand out. And look, you are not as far away from where you want to be, as you might think. Not when you can look at it from a different angle and get a better appreciation for the experience that has got you this far. You could call it a psychological cold plunge. It's time to freshen things up. Being a dynamic man. That is the challenge today.